He called me the servant in the house I built with my own 2 hands. My daughter just watched, then told me to apologize. They thought they had broken me. They were about to find out that even old wood can burn. The wind rattled the loose window pane in my living room. It wasn't a gentle sound, it was aggressive, like a skeleton trying to claw its way inside. Clack, clack, clack. It sounded like chattering teeth that never stopped. I sat in my recliner. It was the only comfortable thing I owned, even though the left armrest was held together by 3 layers of silver duct tape. I pulled the wool blanket up to my chin. It smelled of mothballs and old dust. It was November in Chicago. The wind here didn't just blow, it hunted. It found the cracks in the brick, the gaps in the wood, and the hollow spaces in my bones. I shivered. It was a deep, rattling shiver that hurt my ribs. I'm too old for this cold, I thought. But thoughts didn't pay the heating bill. I reached for the cup of tea on the side table. My hand trembled, not from fear, but from the arthritis that had turned my knuckles into swollen knots. I gripped the handle. The ceramic was stone cold. I stared at the dark liquid. It had been hot 10 minutes ago, or maybe an hour. Time moved differently when you were just waiting for the day to end. I drank it anyway. The bitter, lukewarm liquid slid down my throat. I didn't want to get up to reheat it. The kitchen was an icebox. The linoleum floor was peeling in the corner, and the draft from the back door could extinguish a match. My knees were aching something fierce today. A dull, throbbing fire that never went out. Just stay here, Thomas. Just stay still. A heavy fist pounded on my door. Thump, thump. It wasn't a polite knock. It was a demand. I limped over and opened it. Standing there was Frank, my landlord. He was a squat man with a neck like a bull and a cigar chewed to pulp in the corner of his mouth. Miller, he grunted. You're late. Frank, please, I said, leaning on the doorframe. My daughter handles the checks. You know that. Your daughter's check bounced, Frank spat. He blew smoke into my hallway. For the second time, I'm running a business, not a nursing home. It must be a mistake, I stammered. Jason sends the money. There's always money. You got 3 days, Thomas, Frank said, turning away. Or I put your junk on the curb, winter or not. I closed the door. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. 3 days. My phone buzzed against the wood of the table. It was a jarring sound in the silence. It was an old flip phone. Julia said I was too old for a smartphone. She said the screens were too confusing. I picked it up, a text from my daughter, Julia. Dad, be ready at 6. Jason is sending a car. Wear the gray suit. Make sure it's clean. I stared at the screen. The light was too bright for my tired eyes. I sighed. The breath formed a small ghostly cloud in the air. Jason, my son, the billionaire. It felt strange even thinking that word billionaire. Jason was the kid who used to cry when he scraped his elbow. He was the boy who spent hours in the garage with me, watching me sand wood, his eyes wide with curiosity. Make it smooth, Dad, he would say. Now. He was a ghost, a face on the news, a signature on a check I never saw. He had left home at 18 for Stanford. He never really came back. He built something in Silicon Valley, a cloud computing empire that sounded like magic to me. People said he was a genius. People said he was changing the world. To me, he was just the boy who'd had to call on Christmas. He sent checks, of course. Big one. Or rather, he sent money to Julia to manage for me. Dad isn't good with online banking. Julia had told him years ago. He'll get scammed. Let me handle the accounts. She was right. I preferred cash. I preferred looking a man in the eye when I paid him. I didn't trust money. I couldn't hold. So Julia handled everything. She was the good daughter, the one who stayed. But if Jason sends millions, why did Frank's check bounce? I shook my head. Maybe it was a bank error. Julia was busy. She made mistakes. The door to my apartment opened. There was no knock. There never was anymore. Privacy was a luxury I apparently couldn't afford. Julia breezed in. She brought a gust of freezing hallway air with her. It smelled of the bakery downstairs, burnt sugar and diesel fumes. Dad, why are the lights off? She asked. She flipped the switch. Click. A sudden brightness made me squint. The singular bulb in the ceiling cast harsh shadows on the peeling wallpaper. To save electricity, Jules, I said, struggling to sit up. The bill was high last month. It's fine, Dad. I paid it, she said. Her voice was tight, sharp. She was always stressed. She worked as an interior designer, though she complained often that clients were cheap and demanding. She walked over and inspected me. She looked at me like I was a piece of furniture that needed rub-holtering. She frowned at my sweater. You can't wear that. It has a hole. It's warm, I said, and nobody sees me here. It's moth-eaten, she snapped. Put on the suit. Jason is taking us to the Onyx. I whistled low. A sound of genuine shock. The Onyx? That was the kind of place where a steak cost more than my first car. Politicians ate there. Movie stars. He wants to celebrate, Julia said. She began rummaging through my closet. She pulled out the gray suit. It was dusty. It smelled of cedar and disuse. Get changed, she ordered. And Dad? She paused. She turned to look at me, her eyes hard and desperate. Please don't mention the money troubles. I frowned. I don't have money troubles, I said, confused. I have a pension and what Jason sends. She stiffened. Her hand gripped the hanger so tight her knuckles turned white. Just don't talk about bills, she snapped. Jason hates hearing about pennies. It bores him. It stresses him out. She walked over and smoothed my collar, her touch cold. He thinks you're happy, Dad. Let's keep him thinking that. He has enough stress running a global company. Don't be a burden. The word hung in the air, like smoke. I nodded slowly. I wanted to help. I always wanted to help. Okay, honey. I'll be good. Good, she said. She checked her watch. I have to meet Greg. The car will be here in 10 minutes. She walked out. She didn't close the door all the way. She never closes the door. I stood up. My knees popped loudly. I walked to the mirror. The glass was clouded with age. I looked at the face staring back. Deep lines. Gray stubble. Eyes that looked tired. I shaved with cold water. It stung my skin. I put on the suit. The pants were loose. I had to tighten the belt 2 notches past the usual hole. I had lost 15 pounds in the last year. The doctor said it was stress and diet. I just didn't have much of an appetite for canned soup anymore. I looked at my reflection. I looked like a scarecrow dressed for a funeral. Is this what a billionaire's father looks like? At 6:11 p.m. sharp, the car arrived. It was a sleek black limousine. It was so long it blocked the entire street. I walked down the stairs, gripping the railing. The driver, a young man in a cap, opened the door for me. Mr. Miller? Yes, I said. I climbed in. The interior was another world. The leather seats were heated. Soft ambient lighting glowed from the ceiling. It smelled of expensive leather and vanilla. Julia was already inside. She was tapping furiously on her phone. Did Greg call? I asked. He's driving the Mercedes, she said without looking up. He'll meet us there. I sat back. The seat was warmer than my apartment. I closed my eyes for a second. It felt like heaven. Is Jason bringing anyone? I asked. Just himself, Julia said. She finally put the phone down. She pulled out a compact mirror and checked her lipstick. Her hand was shaking. Why is she so nervous? He's flying out tomorrow morning, she said. Tokyo, I think, or maybe London. He moves so fast I can't keep track. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. It was early, but the storm was already gathering. We arrived at the restaurant. It was a fortress of glass and steel in the heart of downtown. A valet opened my door. I stepped out onto a red carpet. I felt small. The wind whipped at my loose suit jacket. We walked in. The lobby was quiet, smelling of fresh lilies. The maitre d' to us. He didn't look at my scuffed shoes. He looked at Julia's diamond earrings. Mr. Miller is waiting in the private dining room, he whispered. We were led through a maze of white tablecloths and crystal chandeliers. People were eating food I couldn't name. Finally, we entered a room at the back. It had a floor-to-ceiling view of the city skyline. The lights of Chicago twinkled like diamonds. Jason was standing by the window. He turned as we entered. He looked like a king. He was taller than I remembered, his shoulders broad in a custom-tailored navy suit. His hair was cut short, precise. But when he saw me, the businessman vanished. His face softened. "Dad," he said. He crossed the room in 3 long strides. He hugged me. He hugged me hard. He smelled of sandalwood and crisp, clean air. I held on to him, my calloused hands gripping the fine fabric of his jacket. "Jason," I whispered. My voice cracked. "It's been too long." 3 years, he said. He pulled back to look at me. His smile faltered for a second as he scanned my face. His eyes lingered on my hollow cheeks. "You look distinguished, Dad," he said, "but thin. Are you eating okay?" "I'm chasing the nurses around," I joked. "Keeps me trim." It was a lie. There were no nurses. Just me and the cold. The door opened again. Greg, my son-in-law, walked in. He looked like he had run a marathon in a suit. His forehead was shiny with sweat. "Jason," Greg shouted, too loud for the room. He rushed forward and shook Jason's hand with too much enthusiasm. "Good to see you, man. I saw your interview on CNBC last week. Killer stuff. Truly killer." "Thanks, Greg," Jason said politely. He wiped his hand on his side, a subtle motion. He turned to Julia. "Jules, you look beautiful." "Hi, Jace," she said. She hugged him, but her body was stiff, like she was hugging a statue. We sat down. The table was set with enough silverware to perform a surgery. A waiter appeared from the shadows to pour wine. It was a deep, dark red. "To family," Jason said, raising his glass. "To family," we echoed. The wine was rich and smooth. I took a large sip. I needed it. The tension radiating from Julia was making my skin prickle. She was vibrating like a tuning fork. The first course was lobster bisque. It was delicious. I ate it quickly, realizing how hungry I actually was. "So," Jason said, leaning back, "how is retirement treating you, Dad? Are you enjoying the peace and quiet?" "It's quiet, all right," I said. "I read a lot. I watched the History Channel." "And the projects?" Jason asked. I looked up. "Projects? You always said you wanted to build birdhouses when you retired," Jason said. "Do you have a workshop set up?" I chuckled nervously. "Not much room for a workshop in the apartment, son. I carve a little at the kitchen table, but the dust makes me sneeze." Jason frowned. He put his spoon down. "The apartment?" Julia dropped her spoon. It clattered loudly against the china bowl. "Clean." "He means the studio," she said, quickly. Her voice was high and breathy. "The art studio we set up. He calls it the apartment, 'cause it's separate from the main house." Jason looked at her, then back at me. "Right. The studio. How is the light in there?" "I remember the architect said the north-facing windows would be perfect for your carving." I blinked. Architect, north-facing windows. I had one window. It faced a brick wall. The only light I got was the neon sign from the bakery flashing pink every 3 seconds. "The light is fine," I said. I tried to follow Julia's lead. I didn't want to embarrass her. Maybe she had told him stories to make my life sound better than it was. She was always proud. "And the garden?" Jason continued. "Have the hydrangeas bloomed yet? I know Mom loved hydrangeas. That's why I picked that specific landscaping plan." I felt a bead of sweat roll down my back. "Hydrangeas? Hydrangeas?" I asked. "Dad's memory is a little spotty lately," Greg interjected, laughing too loudly. "He forgets what season it is sometimes." I looked at Greg. I wasn't senile. I knew exactly what season it was. It was winter, and I didn't have a garden. I had a fire escape with a dead cactus on it that Mrs. Higgins gave me. Jason's eyes narrowed. He was a man who built logic gates for a living. He noticed when things didn't add up. He didn't say anything for a moment. The waiter cleared the bowls and brought the main course filet mignon. Jason cut into his steak slowly. The silence stretched, thin and brittle. "Dad," Jason said softly, "I want to come by tomorrow morning before my flight. I want to see the house." Julia choked on her wine. She coughed violently, grabbing a napkin. "You can't," she gasped. "Why not?" Jason asked. His voice was calm but sharp, like a razor hidden in silk. "Because it's a mess." Julia stammered. "The cleaner hasn't been there this week. It's not presentable." "I don't care about dust, Julia," Jason said. "I care about seeing my father in the home I bought for him." I put my fork down. My hand was trembling. Home you bought? I asked. The words came out as a whisper. Jason turned to me. His face was open, confused. Yes, Dad. The house. I live in the apartment on 4th Street, I said. Above the bakery. Jason froze. He looked at me. No, Dad, he said slowly. I'm in the estate on Highland Drive. The 4-bedroom colonial. I sent the money 3 years ago. $2 million. He paused. I sent it to Julia to handle the purchase, because I was in London. The room seemed to tilt. Highland Drive? That was the richest neighborhood in the city. What house? I whispered. I didn't receive any house. Jason stared at me. He saw the genuine confusion in my eyes. He saw the frayed cuffs of my suit. He saw the truth. Slowly, mechanically, he turned his head. He looked at my daughter. Julia was shaking so hard her chair was vibrating against the floor. Her face was ashen. Tears were streaming down her cheeks, ruining her makeup. Julia, Jason said. It wasn't a question. It was a verdict. She squeaked. I needed it. Where is the house? Jason asked. His voice rising. I didn't buy it, she whispered. You didn't buy it? Jason stood up. He slammed his hand on the table. Bang. The glasses jumped. The wine bottle wobbled. I sent you $2 million. I sent you $5,000 a month for his expenses. Dad says he's living above a bakery. We had debts. Julia screamed, suddenly standing up. Greg lost his job. We were going to lose our house. We needed the money. So you stole from Dad. Jason roared. You let him rot in a cold apartment so you could keep up appearances? I took care of him, she yelled. I was here. You were gone. I deserved it. The entire restaurant was looking at us now. I'm calling the police, Jason said, reaching for his phone. She ran away. Julia didn't wait. She turned and sprinted toward the door, knocking over a waiter carrying a tray of drinks. Crash. Glass shattered. People gasped. Julia, Greg yelled. But he didn't follow her. He sank into his chair, putting his head in his hands. I sat there, frozen. My heart felt like it was breaking into 1,000 splinters. Jason didn't chase her. He stood there, watching the door swing shut. His chest was heaving. He looked down at me. The rage in his eyes vanished, replaced by a profound, crushing sorrow. Dad, he said. He fell to his knees beside my chair. He grabbed my hands. Dad, tell me it's not true. Tell me you haven't been living in that apartment for 3 years. I have, I said. My voice sounded old. It's not so bad, Jason. The bakery smells nice in the morning. Jason buried his face in my hands and wept. He cried like a child. I thought you were safe, he sobbed. I thought you were happy. She sent me pictures. She sent me pictures of you in a garden. She took those at the park, I realized aloud. She said she wanted to test her new camera. Lays, all of it. Jason looked up. His eyes were red. He looked at Greg. Greg was trying to make himself invisible. Get up, Jason said to Greg. Greg stood up, shaking. Jason, look, I didn't want to. Where is the money? Jason asked. It's tied up, Greg stammered. Investments? The market turned. We have the house, though. Our house. We used some of it to pay off our mortgage. You used my father's house money to pay for your house? Jason asked. Julia said, she said you wouldn't mind. She said you have so much. Jason punched him. It was a short, sharp hook to the jaw. Crack. Greg crumpled to the floor. Get out, Jason spat. If you are in the city by sunrise, I will destroy you. Greg scrambled up and ran out the door, wiping blood from his lip. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. It helps our channel grow and bring more stories to light. It was that moment that changed everything. Jason took me to his hotel. It was the presidential suite. He ordered room service, tea, soup, warm bread. He wrapped a cashmere blanket around my shoulders. We need to call a lawyer, Jason said, pacing the room. She's your sister, I said. I was still in shock. Jason, she's my little girl. She's a criminal, Dad. She stole $2 million. And worse, she stole your dignity. How cold was it in that apartment? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The next morning, the knock came at the door. A man walked in. He was wearing a rumpled trench coat and held a thick folder. "Dad, this is Arthur Vance," Jason said.
"He's a private investigator. I keep on retainer."
Vance nodded to me. He didn't smile. "Mr. Miller," Vance said. His voice was like gravel. "What did you find?" Jason asked. Vance opened the folder. "It's worse than we thought," he said. "Julia hasn't just been stealing the house money," Vance said. "She's been skimming his pension." I sat up straighter. "My pension? She has power of attorney," Vance explained. "She diverted 60% of your monthly checks to a shell account." "I thought they cut my benefits," I whispered. "She told me the union went bust." "The union is fine," Vance said. "She was the bust." My phone rang. It was an unknown number. Jason nodded for me to answer. "Hello, Thomas? It's Dr. Thorne, my old heart specialist. I hadn't seen him in a year. Doctor, is everything okay? I just got a call from your son's office asking for records." Dr. Thorne said, "Thomas, I've been worried sick. Why did you stop coming?" "The insurance, Julia said they dropped the coverage. We couldn't afford the copay." There was a silence on the line. "Thomas," Dr. Thorne said, "your insurance never lapsed. We called your daughter 6 times. She said you didn't want to come." I dropped the phone. Jason caught it. His face was pale. "She risked your life," Jason whispered. "She saved on copays to buy what? Handbags? Shoes?" That hit me harder than the house. She had gambled with my heart. "We have to go to her house," I said. "Dad." "No," Jason said. "Yes," I said, standing up. "I am the father. I need to ask her why." We drove to Julia's house. It was a large modern home in the suburbs. It was beautiful, and it was bought with my comfort. We walked in. The door was unlocked. The house was in chaos. Suitcases were open in the hallway. Julia was frantically packing clothes. When she saw us, she stopped. She looked like a cornered animal. "Julia," I said, "don't look at me like that." She screamed, "Don't look at me like I'm a monster." "You are a monster," Jason said, stepping forward. "I'm a victim," she yelled. "You left," she pointed at Jason. "You went to California and became the great Jason Miller." "I stayed here. I wiped his chin when he spilled soup. I listened to the same stories about the carpentry shop 1,000 times. I gave up my life." "You didn't give up anything," I said softly. You took everything I had." "I deserved a salary," she spat. "If you had hired a nurse, it would have cost you a fortune." "I was the nurse." "A nurse doesn't steal $2 million, Jason said. "And a nurse doesn't let her patient freeze in winter." Suddenly, the door to the kitchen opened. My granddaughter Emily walked in. She was 10. She held a teddy bear. "Mom? Grandpa?" she asked, looking scared. Julia grabbed Emily and pulled her close. "You can't send me to jail," she hissed at Jason. "If you do, Emily goes to foster care." "Greg left this morning. I'm all she has." Jason froze. He looked at me. This was the checkmate. He couldn't destroy his niece's life. I looked at Emily. She looked so much like her mother used to. Innocent. Trusting. "Come here, Emily," I said. "Don't touch her." Julia pulled her back. "Emily," I said gently, "go upstairs and pack a bag. Just your favorite things." "Why?" Emily asked. "Because you're coming with Grandpa for a few days," I said. "She is not," Julia yelled. "You have 2 choices, Julia," I said. My voice found a strength I hadn't felt in years. The carpenter's strength, choice A. Jason calls the FBI right now. You go to federal prison for wire fraud and elder abuse. Emily goes to child services until we can get custody. Julia trembled. "And choice B?" "Choice B," I said. "You sign over full custody of Emily to me and Jason today. You sign over this house to me to sell to pay back what you can, and then you leave. You go somewhere else, and you get a job." "You want to take my child?" she whispered. "You aren't fit to raise a child," I said. "You taught her that love is a transaction. I won't let you poison her too." "No," Julia said. "I won't do it." She grabbed her car keys. "Come on, Emily. We're running." Jason blocked the door. He was 6'2". He didn't move. Move, Jason, she warned. You're not running with her, Jason said. Julia tried to push past him. She was frantic, clawing at his face. Jason grabbed her wrists. She screamed. Emily started crying. It was ugly. It was the ugliest thing I had ever seen. My family, tearing itself apart in the hallway. Stop, I yelled. I slammed my cane against the floor. Thud. The sound was like a gunshot. They stopped. Emily, I said, come to Grandpa. Emily looked at her mother. She looked at her screaming, wild-eyed mother. And then she looked at me. She let go of Julia's leg and walked to me. Julia gasped. Emily, you're scaring me, Mom, Emily whispered. That broke Julia. She collapsed on the floor. The fight went out of her. We didn't call the police that day. We called the lawyers. A woman named Sarah arrived. She was Jason's attorney. She was sharp and efficient. She drafted the papers on the dining room table. Julia signed them. She was broken, defeated by her own daughter's rejection. She agreed to leave the state. Jason gave her enough money for a bus ticket and 1 month's rent and a motel in Nebraska. Don't come back until you're a human being again, Jason told her. I watched from the window as the taxi took her away. She looked back once. I didn't wave. I turned to Emily. She was sitting on the sofa, clutching her bear. Is Mom coming back? She asked. Not for a while, sweetie, I said. She has to go find herself. Did she lose herself? Emily asked. Yes, I said. A long time ago. We sold her house. It didn't cover everything she stole, but it helped. Jason wanted to buy me a mansion. He showed me brochures for estates with pools with tennis courts. No, I said. Dad, I want to spoil you. I want to make up for the last 3 years. You can't fix a crack in the foundation by painting the roof gold, I told him. I don't want a mansion. I want a home. 6 months later, I walked into my new workshop. It was a detached garage behind a lovely, modest ranch house. Just 5 miles from Jason's new local office. He had opened a branch in Chicago just to be close to me. The smell of sawdust filled the air. It was the best smell in the world. I picked up a piece of cherry wood. I was making a jewelry box for Emily. She lived with me now. Jason hired a tutor and a nanny to help, but I did the cooking. I did the bedtime stories. My phone rang. It was a video call from Jason. Hey, Dad, he said. He was in his office. How's the project coming? Slowly, I said, smiling. Hands are stiff today. I'm coming over for dinner. Steak? Pot roast, I corrected. And bring Emily from soccer practice. Deal. I hung up. I looked out the window. The snow was falling again, covering the world in white. But inside, the heater hummed steadily. It was warm. I thought about Julia. I heard she was working in a diner in Omaha. She sent a letter last week. No money, just a card that said I'm sorry. I hadn't replied yet. Forgiveness is a house you have to build brick by brick, and I was still clearing the rubble. I looked at the empty chair in the corner of the shop, the one I used to imagine Jason sitting in. Now, he sat in the real chair in my kitchen. I picked up my chisel. I felt the grain of the wood, rough, but waiting to be smooth. Just like life, I blew the dust off the wood. Whoosh, it swirled in the afternoon light. I wasn't just building a wife, I was building a future. And for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of the cold. Thanks for listening. Please rate our story in the comment. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot, because your time matters.